text one next, then we'll do the spatial. The text one, remember I mentioned that I'm using the Chicago Chicago Crimes data set. Literally, I just downloaded it. It's a freely available work set. And the reason was that the SSP schema doesn't really have any text in it. There aren't really any useful text. And turns out that it'll be kind of funny when I show you the query. Well, maybe it's not funny, actually. It's probably actually pretty disturbing, but it was a relatively large data set that I found enough text in there that I thought this made a more meaningful example. And so all I did was I mentioned, and I have this in the slides, but what we did is I told Oracle, on database and memory, but Oracle database, that we have an in-memory text column. So that triggers some stuff that goes on under the covers to say, oh, so we're going to have this description column is going to be text. So we're going to create essentially an in-memory text index on that data so we can search through it much more efficiently than if we had to go through, like JSON, if we had to go through the actual text itself. So it essentially creates a nice text index into that description field in the column store. And then I altered the table itself to be enabled for in-memory and then populated the table. And I showed you earlier that that was one of the tables we populated. And so I did a describe here, and we see that we actually wind up creating an in-memory expression as a virtual column under the covers. You can actually see it. This is a user tab calls, which will show you the virtual columns. If you just do a describe, the virtual columns aren't going to show up. And then the query I ran was, as I was telling you yesterday, Oro, where it contains, so to use in-memory full text columns, we use the contains function to access the in-memory index. And so all this is documented, and the example, well, I guess the example isn't, the spatial is, and the JSON is. This one, but there are examples that do this, that do basically the same thing. And again, you can do this on your own in the text developers guide, or the application developers guide. But unfortunately here, with the disturbing part, battery, since this is Chicago Crimes, isn't electrical battery. This is, people beating each other up. And so out of the data for this particular district, we see that we had 29,000 hits on text or description with some form of battery in it. And so the only idea here was really just to show that we can search that data very, very fast. The advantage here is that you don't have to then maintain a separate Oracle text index on disk. We can maintain it right in the column store. And so not only do you avoid that, but then we also get way better performance being able to search that data as well. And we see in our table access in memory full. And again, we see that we access that virtual column within the predicate as we did the scan. So we've pushed that predicate into the scan. And then we see again our in-memory expression units. So we know that we did leverage in-memory expressions under the covers to accomplish this.